Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I'm doing my jungle champion presence tier list for Worlds this year, so if you enjoy the content, like, subscribe, and let's get into it. I did one of these yesterday for top lane, and overall I covered a bunch of champions which I believe were going to have high presence, high ban rates, and whereabouts they would line up. And I'm going to do it for the jungle as well. So to begin with, Wukong is the first champion I want to talk about. He is going to be in the 0 to 10% presence mark. This champion has received a lot of nerfs and overall it's really fallen out of popularity. However, some teams do still pick it up as like an option for an AD champion. I don't think we're going to see a huge amount though. It will be very niche if at best. So yeah, moving on. Diana will most likely only be played with Yasuo pairings. Yasuo is on paper probably the fourth most likely fourth best pick going into Worlds as like an AD mid laner. You will run something like Tristana, Jace, Yone over Yasuo, and then there's a high chance Yasuo might see play there. You might also see things like your Casantes and your Renekton's possibly get flexed into mid lane. For the most part, if we don't see any Yasuo, then there is a high chance Diana also does pop up. I think it will be very limited amounts of games, but it's still definitely a combo people have used in the past. Eve and Fiddle I wanted to pair together. Both these champions are like very niche within competitive, usually known as like very strong solo queue stompers, but people do still pick these champions on the odd occasion. Someone like Yike has played Eve and Fiddle during regular season, and there is a high chance that maybe he plays both of them here. So we're going to leave both these champions in as options for teams to play and have as a pick. So Gragas got nerfed a lot. His passive sustain went down from 12 seconds, went up from 8 seconds to 12 seconds. It's really hurt him across all three roles which he was played, which was top, jungle, and mid. His jungle presence was mainly there as like a flex option, with losing that kind of like flex capability into mid and top with him being a lot more punishable has hurt his jungle a lot. I still think a team might pick it, but definitely not a huge amount, and I reckon this pick is one of the weaker AP options going into the tournament for sure. Graves is going to be in my 0 to 10% presence market as well. The champion is not in the greatest spot for competitive. He is very much a solo queue stomper, running things like Yomu's Collector, just being a really high damage like a lethality crit bot. He has still got really strong invades, good scaling, and if teams do want an AD champion which provides range and all these other things, then they might pick up Graves. However, there are still better AD options. There is oftentimes going to be AD options within the mid lane which they take over this, or AD options within the top lane being like your Jax, your Renektons, your Aatroxes, stuff like this. So overall, I don't think Graves will pop up a lot, but he is definitely there as an option for people. Kindred and Kha'Zix both got nerfed recently. They were really strong in solo queue and in competitive. We saw a decent amount of people starting to play Kha'Zix with like WMAX being Evolve being a really strong kind of option there. They did nerf that, but overall the champion still might see a couple of games. I don't think it'll be a huge amount. Once again, Yike might be the only person who plays this, but there are people who have played this season just within other regions. Kindred was really popular beginning of this split, did receive nerfs towards her base health, her E slow, and her E execute threshold, I believe. Overall, this tagged her down quite a bit. Not that strong in solo queue at the moment. People have definitely hopped off the champion. However, I do still think we will see a couple of games with Kindred. This champion does tend to pop up at Worlds every so often. Lilia is in a really good spot at the moment, kind of like a sleeper OP pick. The itemization being like Roa, Demonic, stuff like this. Really, really powerful. You can of course still go things like your Leandries, but in a more competitive environment, there's a high chance you do go Aurora. You want to be more durable, be a bit more tankier in these team fights, really dish out a lot of DPS, and we might see some Lilia. I wouldn't surprise me if this champion's higher up, if people have really caught on to this champion being really good, but for the most part, as we haven't seen a huge amount of Lilia in competitive in a while, I'm going to leave her in the 0 to 10% presence mark. So Gwen is going to be in the 10 to 30. Gwen received her health growth went up from 105 to 112, I believe, and she gained a bunch of monster damage. Overall, this really helped her early clears, allows her to once again be a really valuable flex pick between top and jungle. With this in mind, I don't think she's going to see a huge amount of play in the jungle compared to top lane. I think top is where we will most likely see Gwen, but because I think primarily we're still going to see mostly tanks and like AD champions within the jungle and AP options within mid lane. But Gwen is there as an option. She'll probably see a decent amount of play, just not really breaking into the 30, 50, 70 thresholds. Ivan usually played quite a bit by Europe, well, was mostly played by Yike again. He kind of is someone who plays like these, I don't want to say off meta because these are valuable picks which can be played, but niche picks in regards to most situations. Overall, Ivan, really strong as an enchanter. You can draft him into a lot of team comps. If you're running like double marksman, then he can really be valuable in that situation. You can then run the likes of Gwen in the top lane or Rumble. AP champions do get opened up there. So Ivan will probably see a decent amount of play. Not a huge amount, but definitely there. Jarvan is kind of, well, was known for recently being the strongest champion in solo queue. He did get nerfed along with Shojin. He's kind of fallen out of that top presence spots, but overall the champion still really good. Even at his strongest, though, he didn't see a huge amount of competitive play, so I'm kind of hesitant to put him in the higher tiers, but he's definitely there as an option for people to pick up. Same goes for Nocturne and Xin Zhao. Both these champions are in a pretty good spot at the moment. Xin Zhao, of course, being kind of akin to Jarvan with the Gordrink Shojin build. Nocturne being something like a Stridebreaker Shojin build. You can also go like Cleaver, GA. These options are really good on these champions. So that is there for them. I think Zen is usually favored by Eastern regions. Nocturne is also kind of favored by Eastern regions in most most tournaments as well. Karthus has really picked up quite a bit of play. He is a really strong AP jungler. Probably not the strongest when you have the likes of Talia and Lilia, which a lot of pro players like picking up. But Karthus is definitely there. Good clearer, good flex pick. Really good source of AP. Nidalee, I'm actually just going to put alongside Karthus. I don't think Nidalee is going to quite break the 30 threshold, but I wouldn't be surprised if she got close. She's in a pretty good spot in solo queue at the moment, and oftentimes if she's in a good spot in solo queue, then lots of pro players see this and perceive this as being like a good option within competitive. If you're running something like a Renekton, then Nidalee is known for being a good pairing with the champion, so that is definitely there as an option. Belvedere, I want to add on as well in this tier. Belvedere, it's a weird one. Well, Belvedere is a really high ban rate in Challenger at the moment. Lots of people perceive this champion as being like one of the best high elo picks in the game. This is going to be obviously nerfed in 30.20, but in 30.19, which is the Worlds patch, she hasn't been nerfed. People might see this and really see this as the chance to play this champion. Like the likes of Aoyoya and Yike, both known for playing Belvedere. Some Eastern teams might pick it up. There is a chance that Belvedere does see a decent amount of play. Moving on to the 30-50 mark. So, Sejuani, even though she has been nerfed a couple of times, still holds on to a high presence. I don't know why. This champion is not good compared to the other tanks, which you have options of. It oftentimes does lose compared to them as well. Still here, though, people still perceive it as being really valuable, as a tanky, really solid engaged champion with a really valuable ultimate. So we will probably see a decent Sejuani. Alongside that, Rel is a really good champion. I really like Rel. I think she has really good amounts of CC. She has really strong engage. She is really tanky, has really valuable flex potential in both support and the jungle role. And overall, being so amplified in her clear speed and objective taking, she is really good. We will probably see a decent amount of Rel. A lot of this will probably be in the support role, but it wouldn't be surprising if we do see a decent amount of Rel jungle. Lee Sin received a 5% buff to his W as Omnivamp alongside 2 armor, and well, he skyrocketed in play rate again. Lots of the time when Lee Sin gets buffed, he does see a high amount of presence in competitive. So Lee Sin, I'm also going to put up in the 30 to 50% mark. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of teams do pick this champion. Alongside that, Vi, I think, has kind of made a bit of a resurgence. She received buffs not too long ago to push her back towards Bruiser, where they nerfed her AD ratio down on her ultimate and her AD damage on her ultimate down, and then buffed up her passive, her W, and her E, I believe, and overall should put Vi in a better spot. pro players will probably be willing to pick the champion back up again. And as it wasn't too long ago when people did play her, a lot of Chinese and Korean players will still play this, will still be quite proficient at this champion. So wouldn't surprise me if this champion is close to the 50 to 70 mark, but I'm going to leave it in the 30 to 50 mark at the moment. And Viego, the last champion, the 30 to 50 mark. Viego is oftentimes seen a lot at these competitive events. He has a lot of damage, can go things like the Divine Cinderer build in competitive. However, oftentimes you do just see the Kraken Triforce. It wouldn't surprise me if people have moved towards Triforce Viego in competitive and are itemizing things like Triforce, Cleaver, Death Stance, stuff like this over the Divine Cinderer now that it is like shown to be significantly better. But overall, this champ, does pop up a lot in competitive, has good clear speed, does good amounts of damage. The possess can be really valuable, especially if you're possessing a tank and then you can utilize their abilities. Overall, does usually see a lot of play. Maokai is going to be the first champion in the 50-70. Wouldn't surprise me if Maokai almost breaches the 70 to 90 mark. Maokai is in a really good spot as an AP tank option. He does a good amount of damage, has a really good amount of CC, has a good clear speed. Even though they have tagged him a couple of times now, he's still in a really good spot, and overall should be seen a lot as like a first pick option alongside the likes of Poppy, who is also going to be here. Poppy, a lot of her ban rate will probably be towards both both top and jungle, and possibly even see her support. If Lee Sin's in the meta as well, then Poppy will also see an increase in play rate. Poppy tends to be known for being good into Lee Sin, also pretty good into Vi, these champions which are really focused on their dash abilities. So overall, should also be a really good secondary tank option, probably around the 50-70 mark. And the Talia, a lot of this will come down to Talia's ban rate. It's usually really high, it has been high for a while now in competitive, ever since you received her last buffs. Overall, both mid and jungle Talia are in a really good spot, with both receiving a large amount of bans, and then we're going to probably see a decent amount of jungle Talia. It wouldn't surprise me if she's also around this mark as well. So overall, those were my thoughts. I'll be interested to know what you think. Some of the other champs, of course, I haven't mentioned, the likes of like Rumble. We might see one or two games on Hecarim. Depends if people have really caught onto the Shojin Stridebreaker build. If they have, then there is a chance this champion does see a lot of play and can climb up the tier list. However, I don't think we're going to see it. The likes of Nautilus sometimes makes an appearance. Silent Jungle, obviously Canyon is at World, so there is a chance that he does try and play this. Trundle as an answer to some of the AD threats and tanks might be there, but I don't believe so. And then other champs like Rengar, Shaco, Skarner, these champs sometimes do just see games. Rengar and Skarner. These are two champs which in the past have seen games. Both these champions. Rengar, it was more as like a, it's more of like an ego option if you really just want to take over games. I know SFM played it back along, that was more like a tank Rengar, but I know some people do still play this champion. And with Skarner, oftentimes does see one or two games. They'll probably end up going something like Turbo Chem tank build, whether they go like Iceborne Turbo, I believe. And yeah, we might see some of that. So it'll be interesting to see what picks are actually brought out at Worlds. The likes of Elise obviously got nerfed, which is why I haven't added her on here either. Echo did get buffed, but most likely going to see him mid lane if anything. I don't believe we're going to see any Echo jungle. So yeah, those are my thoughts. So yeah, bye guys for watching. I'll see you next one. Goodbye.